Hammonton assistant coach Tony DeRosa talk about the Blue Devils and kind of a gauntlet they're going through right now. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. How are you, Dave?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Guess you got some film work to do today, right?
Yeah, we just got done. We were here bright and early.
Nice. Tough game last night, 36-21, lost to Williamstown. You guys are kind of in a real tough three-game stretch here. You're now 7-1. You took down Delsey last week in a real dominating win. Come back this week and lose to Williamstown. Now you got to face Timber Creek next week. What's the mood of this team right now?
Well, right now it's business as usual. We're going to get back to our film and we're going to make our corrections, and we got to get better. We got to get a little healthier. We had some kids that were banged up, but we just got to watch our film, correct our mistakes, and have a great week of practice and continue to improve.
I know nobody wants to lose, especially this time of year, but can this benefit you in any way to kind of get these kids on track and say, hey, nothing's going to be given to you. You might be undefeated in late October, but teams are coming after you. Well,
I've always said, like, when you lose a game, you don't lose the game. You learn something from it, So that's what we want to try to do. We want to try to learn from our mistakes. We made some errors. We didn't play consistent throughout the whole entire game. Williamstown is a great program. Coach Ducci does a great job over there. Those kids were hungry last night. And I don't think we played consistent enough throughout the game to make the plays that we needed to make. At the end, they made more plays than we did. So, you go back. We're watching the film right now. We'll watch the film, take a look at it, correct our mistakes, and just get right back into the grind. So we have a motivated group of kids that have a lot of set some goals for themselves, for the team and individually. So we got to go out there and accomplish those goals tonight.
Now, you know as well as anyone, being a longtime head coach over there at Egg Harbor Township, kind of the ebbs and flows of a football season, and you're dealing with 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and the mindset you have to try to get those guys in at the end of the season. How difficult is that, and how does your role change now as an assistant coach? Is a little bit different in terms of trying to get through to these guys and put them in the right frame of mind for the next week after coming off a loss like that?
Well, I think my job as an assistant coach is the number one, to get my guys to do what they have to do on Friday nights. We got to motivate them. We got to push them in practice. We got to put them in situations that they can succeed. And, we try to continue. Our whole coaching staff does a great job here of putting our guys in the situations to be successful. And that's what we want to do during practice. We want to put our guys in situations so they could respond on Friday nights in game situations. We got a great group of guys that are really highly motivated guys, so sometimes it makes it pretty easy down here with these guys.
We're talking with Tony DeRosa, assistant coach at Hammonton High School, former Egg Harbor Township head coach. Coach, how impressed are you with Jim Rosso and the job he's done taking over for Pete Lancetta, who was there for quite a long time, went over to Rowan University, and you never know what's going to happen with a first-year coach, that kind of transition. You see Holy Spirit kind of going through that now with A.J. Russo, and it seems like it's been a pretty seamless transition over there.
Well, Coach Rosso is a great guy, and I'm blessed to be part of this staff right now. And, I learned so much from Coach Lancetta. I'm grateful for them giving me an opportunity here. And Coach Rosso does a tremendous job. It's seamless. He's a long-time football coach. He's a long-time football guy. Been here his whole life, played through the Hawks organization, moved his way on up, started from the bottom, worked his way all the way up top, and he's a pure football coach, a pure head coach, and he's going to do a great job, and he's going to continue the tradition here in Hammonton that Coach Lancetta set apart 26 years ago.
I asked this to a lot of high school coaches, and it seems to me like when you look at the real good programs around South Jersey, and anywhere really, when you look at the coaching staffs, you got a bunch of football junkies, a bunch of guys that are putting in a ton of time, and for the money you make it's not a whole lot in terms of the stipend you get. What motivates you guys to keep going year after year? And, how do you just keep finding the energy to get out there and stay late, come early, and all that stuff? I don't think fans really realize the kind of work that high school coaches put in any sport to be really good at what they do.
I think coaching's addicting. And, number one for me, I've always wanted to make a difference in a kid's life. And number two, I wanted to coach football, and I love winning, and I love this game. And like I said, back to number one, you want to make a difference in the kids' lives. I enjoy being out there with these guys every day, at any level, and and winning the game of football. It's addictive. We were there late last night, and we're here early this morning. We're getting ready to go. We're taking time away from our family, and we're going to go scout today, and we enjoy it. We love it. And it's about the kids, and it's about it's about being competitive and winning.
What we're talking with Tony DeRosa here from Hammonton High School, assistant football coach here on the South Jersey Sports Report 97.3 ESPN. Coach, what's the biggest difference now at this point in your career as opposed to maybe your first or second year? How much have you learned, and what is it like on a day-to-day basis? How much different is it from when you were a younger coach?
It's pretty much the same. And I have a little bit. I think I can get things done a little bit quicker now. Instead of watching films for 4 hours, maybe I watch them for 3.5 now. During the day. I'm continually learning. I'm working with a bunch of great coaches over here. I had such a great opportunity working with Coach Lancetta last year. I felt like I was getting a PhD in coaching, not just working with the X and the O's, just working with people and working with kids and how to treat players and all those other things. And it's a great opportunity, and I love it. And you still put in a lot of time, but you love every minute of it. I tell my wife I'm going to work, but I'm really not.
When I hear, I'm out at these games all the time in terms of different sports and stuff, and you hear this a lot from people of our generation, 40s, 50s, that age group. Oh, kids aren't what they used to be. And I always say that's a good thing. I want to get your perspective on this. Just the high school athlete today, and it seems to me they're just so much more dedicated than when I was in high school. They're playing multiple sports. They're doing stuff in the community. They're out there, hustling to get good grades. And you see so many good kids. I think sometimes we romanticize when we were in high school a little bit too much and don't realize what kind of level these kids are today. I mean, you look at some of the things they're doing, getting straight A's, tops of their class, being involved with the community, fundraising for charity events. Tell us a little bit about the high school kid today.
I think that there's really no difference. Bottom line, I think kids, they want to excel, they want to be great, and they're working towards those things. And I think they love discipline too. And a lot of times, sometimes that word gets thrown out of whack a little bit. Discipline means yelling and screaming at kids. I think kids want discipline. I think the biggest difference today is, I think today there's a lot more distractions out there. There's so many more things that's out there. It used to be when I first started coaching, when you were a coach, you were everything. You were the guidance counselor, their strength coach, you were everything. Now every kid has their personal coach. They have their personal speed coach, their personal strength coach, their stretching coach. So there's so many different influences out there that sometimes these kids get distracted away from there. But I think bottom line, kids still want what they want. They want to win, they want to excel, and they want to do great things.
How fired up are you for today? Temple Notre Dame, kind of a cool thing, college game days in Philly. Have the kids talked about that at all, kids on the Hammonton team?
Yeah, my son wanted to go to the game. He wanted to go to the college game day thing over there, and he was like, "Dad, take me." Now, I got to go to practice, and you got to go to practice. So we got to take care of Timber Creek this week, so you got to get it done. You go watch it on TV like you do every Saturday morning.
Man, you're a tough dad, Coach. That's all right. Toughen those boys up, right?
Yep.
All right, Coach, I appreciate you taking a few minutes with us, and good luck next week against Timber Creek.
All right. Thank you guys very much. And thanks for all you do for South Jersey football.
No problem. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Bye-bye.
That was Coach Tony DeRosa, assistant coach out there at Hammonton High School under Jim Rosso.